This is Truth Be Told.
That not only are there reptilians here,
new evidence of UFO fleets.
We were close to nuclear war.
To help you transform so that you can live your highest truth.
We're not being told just because we're not ready for it.
Radio stations of frequency, vibrational.
I was a homicide detective with LAPD.
UFOs increase visitations. Life on Mars. We've been hearing this in the news for many years. In our conversations, I'm sure it's been talked about for hundreds or even thousands of years of the red planet. Today we have Nick Redfern, best-selling author, journalist, cryptozoologist, and ufologist, talking about his book, The Martian, Evidence of Life on the Red Planet. We're going to talk about, was there a society on Mars? What caused this world to become harsh and desert-like? Is Earth repeating the same history? Was it greed? Was it environmental? Or did the beings from Mars come to Earth and inhabit our planet? And we are the remnants of that civilization. Lots of questions, lots of answers. I'm Tony Sweet with Truth Be Told. Welcome to Truth Be Told Studios for the first time. Best-selling author, Nick Redfern. Hello, Nick. How you doing?
That's much better. That's much better.
Well, I'm excited to have you here. We're going to probably ask some questions from the chat room as people get on board, and if they have any questions, I'll bring them in as my co-host. But until then, I want to welcome you and thank you so much for doing all the work you do. You've written many books on many different subjects in cryptozoology and ufology, and in this book, The Martians, Evidence of Life on the Red Planet is no different, and as in bringing us some fabulous discussion to our audience. So, first of all, how did you decide to write about Mars and then dive in deeper on the life that once was?
Well, I would say that the primary reason was because over the years, NASA brought back a lot of pictures from Mars to the Earth, and some of them look really sort of, I would say, suspicious. But I mean, in the sense that, well, hang on a minute, this looks like it was actually sort of put in the right place, and it looks like this looks like somebody's face, that kind of thing, and the more that I looked into the history of Mars, I came to believe, but based on the data,
right.
But basically that there was some kind of ancient civilization, which certainly isn't around at all now.
Right.
Well, at least I think that's
on the surface anyway.
Certain.
Maybe underneath, but on the surface for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, when I started to look at the history of Mars and saw a lot of really strange and carved rocks, it did look like that at some point there was some kind of ancient Martian civilization.
Mm-hmm.
And now there's a lot of photographs that Mars has released into the public domain. They're not hidden. They're not, and Mars has, and NASA have basically said, well, yeah, it looks like a face, but we don't think it's a face.
Right.
Right. And that's from their perspective, that's okay. And they basically say, that what all these photographs show is sort of just clouds in the sky, looking at your next door neighbor's dog coming through the cloud,
Right.
That kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, we've all seen those kind of images.
Oh, for sure.
However, yeah, But if you look at some of the pictures that that NASA have been looking at, some of them, I think, go far, far from there. I don't know if you've got a copy of the book or not.
I did
you
not.
Have a copy of it?
No, I did. Actually, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. And I'm actually pulling a few pictures of some of the surfaces of Mars with the face, and I'm going to show it here in just a second. There it is. I'm going to pull it so people can see that. And I'm curious, because sometimes, and I'm not being a skeptic, because I believe, Mars did have life. But we could, some people can say, well, we look at something in the dirt, or we look something in the sky, or we look at something from a distance, and yeah, it looks like a face. And I'm showing it right now that these rocks that look like they have a face on it. What can we say that this definitely is something that we need to investigate more than just saying, it's probably just a shadow that looks like a face?
Well, that's a good situation, but I mean, I don't know if you saw the picture in the book where it looks like a giant spider mixed with a crab and looking about 8 feet tall and long.
Let me see if I can find that picture.
Okay. Well, that one is a fascinating picture, and when you look at it, it's hard to put it away from the perspective of people saying, "Wow, that looks like a giant spider." And but I mean, the story is basically a lot of pictures have come back, obviously, from Mars, and many of them look really weird. And like I said, NASA have said, well, okay, yeah, we understand, and we know that you think it looks like an alien, or you think it looks like a car.
Right.
And then NASA says, but NASA basically said that this one really sort of had them worried, because whatever you think about it, this one picture does look like a giant spider thing crawling up a wall, and it just happens to be a wall on Mars, which is not something that you see or hear about,
Right. Well, I don't know if you remember the movie. I'm sure you do. 1990, the movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Total Recall, when they went to Mars and they started building a society there, and but the main generator that would bring back an atmosphere was in a mountain, and they had to activate it from ancient Martian, I'm sure, engineering. What is your take?
Yeah.
What do you think about something like that, of a possibility?
Oh, I think there's a high possibility that there is life on Mars. Now, I don't believe that we've, sort of NASA's hidden things, actually.
Right.
I think NASA are looking at it from the perspective of sort of like a scientist, and very black and white, that kind of thing. But in saying that, I'm thinking from the perspective of a Martian civilization that was around probably hundreds of thousands of years ago. Now, that doesn't mean we won't still be able to find remnants from an earlier civilization, whether an extraterrestrial one or possibly even, shall we say, something like an organization or a civilization that lived, shall we say, 200,000 years ago, maybe. Now, if you think about that, we might be in a position to look back and realize eventually that perhaps an earlier Martian human civilization made it to Mars and vice versa. We don't really know, but some of these pictures, yes, it is very different because my book sort of changed things a little bit, and the reason being because these pictures are so strange. For example, if you want to go to page 152, you have this is a real NASA picture, but NASA just dismiss it. But it's difficult to understand what it is or it isn't. But it does look like a creature with a rounded body and about 8 legs crawling up one of the ancient Martian walls. So you've got the
I think I showed that. It does. It almost looks, I don't know. Yeah, it's like these long legs, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, whatever you think it is very difficult to explain what that picture is. I mean, it does look like with a large round body and somewhere in the region of about 8 legs. Now, what we know for sure because NASA actually expanded their pictures, and when you place it against the Martian craft that we brought down, that thing, whether it's alive or not alive, it's somewhere in the region of about 8 feet high and about 4 and 5 feet left, left and right. And so, and again, it is difficult to make a case that this is just a piece of rock. I mean, I just don't see how people can say that.
Right, right.
But if you look on the next next page of the book, I don't know if you've got the book open, you'll see one of the other faces on Mars, I should say.
I'll look and see if I can find it online so we can show our audience. But
okay.
But
right.
what?
This is page.
Go ahead.
What was that?
No, I was
okay.
just looking here.
Okay. Well, this is about page 153. Now, you remember back in the 1970s when there was the face on Mars? Well, it was round about 2000, so 20 years ago, another face was found on Mars. And this one is pretty incredible because you've got like the head, you've got a thin nose, there's 2 eyes, and if you look close, you can even see eyes, you can see lips, and even like a little hole in the chin, that kind of thing. And it's been called as the crown with his king. And and if you look at that picture, that is difficult to think that was not sort of created. From my perspective, it is created. And of course, the most fascinating thing about this, though, is that the face is incredibly human. Now, does that mean that aliens look just like us, or is it possible that us, maybe hundreds of thousands of years ago, or a colony of people on Earth, actually managed to get to Mars? I mean, that's an interesting theory, and they left their own image on Mars, But I don't know if you've got the picture up yet.
Yeah, I'm showing it. The 1970 and then the 2000. Yeah, 1976, 2000.
Yeah, that is kind of wild, really.
That is wild.
And and I mean, and when there's when there's one head, and now there's 2 heads, I mean, maybe one day we'll find another one. Now, if that did happen, I would say, from my perspective, that that just would not work. When it was just a random issue. But again, with Mars, I mean, there are so many weird things on the planet, and I mean, when you're looking at them, even if we don't have the answers and we don't have the proof, and despite what NASA say about clouds in the sky and all that
Right.
kind of stuff, well, for me, I think we need to keep digging and going forward, and to look at what might have happened. Now, one of the problems for the Martians, if they were Martians, it makes you wonder if there was a massive cataclysmic event that happened on Mars at some point. It wouldn't surprise me if that wasn't the truth of it. And if it was some sort of cataclysmic thing, what I do think is that maybe, possibly, there could have been some sort of a face-to-face battle with other entities. We don't know. Maybe all of this stuff is out there just in case for the time when we get there, and if we do, and then we can get the answers. And again, though, I think a lot of the answers really do work out good, because I mean, you really can see so many pictures of things that just far and far away from just being rocks. And I mean, there's also one which looks just like Stonehenge. If you have a look at it, picture of it, it looks like an aircraft taking pictures over Stonehenge.
Let me see if I can find it it'd be great.
And again,
oh, there we go.
For people, yeah. But I think even for people who have this look at it and they just shake their heads, I think it's much more than that. But yeah, if you can find that picture,
I'm showing it right now. I'm showing. Yeah, it's really cool, and it does look like a Stonehenge.
Yes,
that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. But of course, one of the other images. Why does it look like Stonehenge? Why does it look like there's something on our planet?
Right.
That's another, another issue to wonder about, to ponder about.
Well, let me ask you this, Nick, real quick. I'm sorry to interrupt, but well, here on Earth, a lot of like Stonehenge and certain ancient sites are on ley lines. And have they ever done like a ley line? I mean, I don't know if it's even possible to do on Mars to find out if they're on any type of a, because us, we have an equator,
actually, actually, that's a good question, but no, the answer is no. I mean, it hasn't actually been done,
right?
But I mean, actually, it would be really interesting if somebody did do that.
Yeah, I'm curious.
That would be fascinating, and but for me, one of the most intriguing things, one of them, was back in 1984, which is a long way away now, and the CIA, interestingly, they decided to remote view the planet Mars.
Oh,
and,
really?
Yeah. And
it's called Mars Exploration, May 22nd, 1984.
Yeah, that's the one. Yep. Yeah, and the CIA created this program to try and see what had happened on Mars, not now or in the future, but in the past. And what's really intriguing is that if you read the entire text of what the guys who were remote viewing the programs, when you look into it all, you see that the remote viewers are talking about giants on Mars, entities that look like us, but are probably around in the angle of about 8 to 9 feet tall, which would be pretty imposing. If you saw creatures that supposedly look very much like us, but sort of 4 to 5 feet taller than us. If you see
they talk about the giants. They've said that they've found giants' bones and giants in the Bible. So, I mean, that might be a connection right there.
Yeah, and I mean that also would not surprise me that there was something to that. And but again, also, what a lot of the remote viewing program in that 1984 process. They talked about how during the RV work, they saw that Mars was sort of decaying and the atmosphere was collapsing. And supposedly the Martians who survived were able to go underground. And when I say underground, I'm talking about like 300 or 400 feet underground, maybe even deeper than that, and finding ways to survive. So that's why I think there could have been a Martian civilization and the possibility that at least some of them did survive, and maybe that's what the CIA found. But for me, the most intriguing thing is, why did they want to RV Mars in the very first place? Why were they? Why did the CIA want to go to Mars? That makes me think they know something about it.
That's fascinating, and I'm curious what your thought is before we go into some of the other studies that you've done and talked about in your book. But so we have Elon Musk, talking about going to the red planet, to Mars, colonizing it. And what is your thoughts about, even though he's a private company, there has to be people that are already staking claims on Mars, or so what is your take on that, on people traveling to Mars and people already digging their claws in and saying that we own the rights to minerals, we all this other stuff that that's going on behind the scenes?
Well, you can look at it various ways. I mean, there's people who claim that they've been to Mars, with like these secret space programs. I mean, from my perspective, why do they have to have why do they have a reason to hide it from us?
Right, I mean, that's my thoughts.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I could understand if there was something on Mars that could sort of create some sort of something that would terrorize us, but I just cannot think what it could be. If Mars is dead and the Martians are stuck underground, what does it really matter if we go looking for them? I think we should. But I think a lot of it comes down to it because a lot of NASA's scientists, they don't like the idea of losing their images, their knowledge, So I think that's part of the reason. But in saying that, I mean, there are sort of snippets of data and words and things people have talked about, saying that there is like a secret space program. And if there is one, I wouldn't actually be with us in a surprise. I wouldn't be. I'd be, oh yeah, we knew that would happen.
Right. And
so
I have another question that you might, because we talked about maybe this global warming, nuclear war that maybe had annihilated the atmosphere or the life on the surface of the planet, and possibly traveled here to our planet. You said about 100,000 years ago. Well, that's close to when a lot of what the humans as we know started showing up on our planet. So, I mean, it kind of timeline fits.
Yeah, you're right. And I mean, and this is again why Mars is such an enigma. It's,
right.
I mean, one of the fascinating things from my perspective, which I thought it kind of like mirrored a lot of what I was talking about in the book, was the original movie of Planet of the Apes.
Right.
When there was a civilization that at one point were very advanced, but their civilization just fell apart, and in the movie, it's only at the very end you don't realize until we find well, I won't say the word because everybody knows it.
Right.
but yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if there could have been a situation along the lines of Planet of the Apes, and so from my perspective, again, I think that movie and the novel as well make a good picture as to what could happen to us. Maybe in, 4,000, 5,000 years from now, and then maybe, say, 20,000 years after that, there'll just be remnants of us left.
Right.
And, of course, you've got the big issue of the NASA actually having really found something and just hiding it, like the final end of our world, if you like, that kind of thing. And NASA want to just totally hide everything. I mean, that could happen. But again, the question is, well, why should it hurt us? Why should it worry us if all the Martians and the planet is just destroyed? So I'm not sure why, we shouldn't be allowed,
Well, it's funny that a lot of movies, because I always say Hollywood does always have some truth on predicting the future or even sometimes the past. If you think about some of these alien movies or Marvel movies, you see some of these societies that live on other planets. They planet hop, and then they go and completely wipe out the resources, and then they go to the next planet, and they just keep destroying these planets. And then, of course, you got the heroes fighting against it, and at the end they win. But maybe that, unfortunately, the species of Mars came here, and we're just hopping planets until because it seems like we just, even on this planet, we're completely stripping the resources. We're polluting the atmosphere and stripping the trees, anything that was naturally growing here. So I'm curious your thoughts about that. And did we bring all life? If let's say that humans came here. Well, what about other life? Other animals, other plants. Did
well,
we?
Yeah.
What is your take on that?
Yeah, that could be. Yeah. Well, that's a possibility. Real Martians come to the Earth and they leave back on our planet. Sort of cells, DNA, that kind of thing, and they started. Maybe the Martians created a new civilization on our planet, but not really knowingly doing it. That would be that would be interesting as well. The idea that we started them off,
right?
That kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, there's so many scenarios, and of course, one of the most important things is that Mars is the one planet which has really got a massive amount of weird things on Mars. If you look, there aren't too many on. When you look at what can be seen, like from Venus and on the moon, there is some things, but the sheer number of weird things you can see on Mars, that makes me think that's because so much of the early civilization is now gone, but was there.
And do you feel? I know we talked a little bit about it. Do you feel that maybe not humanoids or Martians itself, but do you feel like there's other organisms that could either enhance our society or even be detrimental to our society if it was brought back to Earth?
Well, I mean, it depends how you look at it. I mean, for example, what if the Martians, a long time ago, realized that, there was Martian civilization and there was a human civilization, and both of them were fighting thousands and thousands of years ago, and we've forgotten about it or we've lost it.
Right.
But yeah, and I think again, somebody may know that something went wrong, and then there may have been some sort of cover up. But I mean, against that as well, though. I mean, if you look in the book where I talk about the Martian banyan trees, forget about humanoids, but plants, trees, bushes on the surface of Mars. And now this part of Mars is a fascinating one, where you've got these what look like large, huge bushes on the surface of Mars, which have become known as the banyan trees, or some people call them the Martian trees. And if you look at the pictures, now NASA's view on the banyan trees is that it's ice particles. But if you look down on the photos that have been taken by NASA,
they do.
To me, they don't. That doesn't look like ice. I mean,
no, they do. They look like trees.
Bizarre.
Wow.
Yep, that's what they look like. They're sort of like in a circle with all these clustered brushes and sort of twigs and brushes and leaves, everything. I mean, you can't get it better. Now, if there is plants, flowers, trees, things like that on Mars, then almost certainly those plants would need water because they're still water.
Right.
they're still trees, so they would need water. So that may mean that the numbers of water that's on Mars may actually be way more than we know. You know,
Wow.
I think that's a possibility, because with the remote viewing as well, supposedly a lot of the Martians went way underground, and it wouldn't surprise me if there was a lot of water so far down, and that may be where back then where the Martians retreated to, where there was a lot of water, and think about it as well, as if they've never actually come out, you know, apart from when emergencies, things like that. So, you know, there's a lot of things like that, so many different angles, you know, you could go with. And that's why I think there was once a civilization, because so many things in these photographs, it's just not, you know, something that would you know, fall apart.
Right. Well, what do you think about?
We would think,
because
you know?
I know humans. Again, if an alien ship or a probe came into our atmosphere, we would be like, we're like a cat. We have to go look and sniff and touch, and you know, we're very curious people. So what?
Yep.
Why, if they go underground, maybe they aren't like they would have to have some technology to go underground. Why don't we, with our probes that are there now, why do you feel like they haven't come out to investigate, or what is your thought on something like that? Why would they not let themselves be known a little bit more?
Well, maybe they have done that. You know?
True. We just don't know. Or we're not told.
But again, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and again, if that's just another enigma, that we get more and more enigmas. But from that perspective, yes, I think when we look into all of these aspects, you know, there's something to it, and there's no doubt in my view that we're dealing with a history that is barely still around, and so much behind us is lost, and that's a tragic thing. You know, when things are gone.
Yes.
Yes. That's sort of going back to Planet of the Apes again.
Mm-hmm. That was one of my favorite movies, by the way.
But again, there would be an irony, though, if actually Planet of the Apes pretty much got it right.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, I think it's important. I really do think it's important that, because it's you know, it's great to have the probes on the planet and sending back photographs, but having actual people there observing and experiencing, you know, face to face, to if that is a tree, or if that is a pyramid, or if there are artifacts that are all around that just don't get picked up by the camera. So do you think, I know Elon Musk wants to do it, but do you think in our lifetime that we will step on Mars?
You know, I actually do. And the reason why I think is because nowadays in the past it was NASA, you know, and the Russian space program.
Right.
But now we can do it independently because we've got billionaires.
True.
And so we could avoid, you know, like the US and the UK and Russia and everybody else who's been looking for, you know, some of these artifacts maybe. But now, with all these billionaires, we can divert them, or divert away from them, I should say. And that's why I think we actually could get the answers ourselves, because one day we will be able to do that. Before it was always the elite, the astronauts.
Yep.
I mean, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, astronauts may be on Mars,
That'd be awesome.
And they're just, and they've come from just a private program, nothing to do with NASA.
Yeah.
So that's why I think, we probably will at one point find the answers. Yeah. And the government wouldn't be able to stop them because they could do it on their own.
Which I think is great, and I think the more we can, because private citizens will definitely, or private businesses don't have as much to hide, even though, like you said, if there is something that they know they can make a lot of money, they may keep it, to themselves for a minute until they do stake claim. But I agree with you. I think some of these billionaires have more money than most small countries. So.
I mean, one of the things I've been asked about on a number of occasions, it's the pictures known as the Anubis picture. Anubis was like this, almost like a werewolf type creature in ancient times. And somebody took a photograph of one of these things. It's on page 142 in the book. But I mean, it looks very, very cartoonish, and I think this one probably is sort of, the equivalent of looking at clouds, but it might not be. But it does look skinny and weird, and like I said, a bit cartoonish. But the picture's out there for people to see.
Yeah, I'm showing a picture of it right now. The Anubis image from Mars, so people can look at that and make their own conclusions. And before we get out of here, I want to know, when we start, even me, when I start interviews, there's sometimes I know about the subject, sometimes I don't. But writing a book, going in, you have to do your research. But when you finished the book, what was something that you really woke you up and said, there might be something here. This was kind of the light bulb going off for life on the planet Mars. What was that moment?
It would be like jaw dropping.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, anything like that, when any kind of civilization appears, dead or alive, and which with a massive history, and we don't know what they were, and where did they come from, and with all, it's almost like a bullet time situation, bang, 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 putting all these different angles of this, and then there's this, and then there's this, and there's this theory. I mean, my God, it's like, there's so much weird stuff. And so yeah, it's I think certainly in the next 20, 30 years, things are really going to be wild because things will open up outside of NASA.
I love it, and I can't wait.
That's a very good thing.
And I hope me and you are both here to experience it. It's like the UFOs to land their ship right in front of our lawn and meet them face to face. We hope that one day we get to see that while we're on this planet. So, but Nick, thank you so much. You're amazing, and you have so many books that I'd love to have you back and talk about. And I hope you accept our invitation to come back. And where can the people pick up your book?
Oh, you can get all my books from pretty much everywhere. Amazon, of course, and most bookstores. And I write on various subjects. Sort of cryptozoology is one of my big passions, and things, Mothman, werewolves, that kind of stuff. And some conspiracy stuff, but also things like Men in Black, UFOs, Area 51. I guess a bit of everything, I suppose.
I love it. Right up my alley. That's right up the things that I love to talk about. So, well, you're great, and
right,
thank you
thanks.
for being a great storyteller and bringing us the books that you have spent years of putting together. So appreciate it. And,
thanks. Thank you.
And I think you can go to Nick Redfern. I think is it 14.blogspot.com? Is that your website?
No, it's Fortean, like in Fortean Times.
Oh, sorry.
It's
My eyes.
Fortean, Fortean, yeah.
Perfect. Well,
Like Charles Fort, after Charles Fort, Fortean.
Oh, great. Okay. I love it. Love it. Well, thank you so much. And definitely going to have you back. And I again, appreciate you for doing what you do.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for having me on as well. Thank you.
All right. Have a good one. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We really appreciate it. I know we get amazing people like Nick on our show. And I'm selfish because I get to learn as much as you guys do. And I want to appreciate everybody that listens to all of our shows on the Club Paranormal Network. Truth Be Told, right here on Fridays at 3 o'clock. Monday, Minuteman Report with Robert Hensley. And then Truth Be Told Transformation with Bonnie Burkert, who does more of the spiritual side of Truth Be Told. So, but we hope you subscribe, leave a great comment, share the show, because that helps us continue to bring you content like this. And then, we're getting close to our 1,000th episode coming up soon. So please support us and keep coming in every week. So until next time, I'm Tony Sweet. Have a good day and have a great weekend. This has been another episode of Truth Be Told. Thank you so much for watching. Recorded live at UBN Go Studios in Burbank, California. Join us on social media. Facebook, Truth Be Told Radio. Instagram, Truth Be Told Paranormal. Go to Truth Be Told Worldwide for more information on upcoming shows. This has been another episode of Truth Be Told.